Okay, listen, classroom management is a whole can of worms, but it is also probably the most important thing that you are not taught how to do in your college program. Am I right? Or am I right? So let's talk about classroom management, and specifically today I want to take it, and instead of it being like, this big huge like thing, we're going to boil it down to the four most important things. There's four important things about classroom management, and we're going to talk about these four things as fast as I possibly can. So apologies if I talk a little bit quickly. We're not going to go like into all the nitty gritty of every single thing because that would take a very long time. But what we are going to do is we're going to go through each one to kind of talk through how you can have the smoothest classroom ever. If you're new around here, hi, I'm Becca. I'm an elementary music teacher. All of these things I'm talking about are based on research, but also based on what I have observed, noticed, and learned over my 9 years of teaching elementary music. The cool thing about elementary music is that you teach everybody in the school every single year. So I get a really good look at not just what I do and what works and doesn't work, but also I get to see kids with their homeroom teachers, and I see how the same kid can act completely different in different classrooms. It's wild. So I have, between observations and what I've actually done, I have a lot of classroom management knowledge that I want to share with you today. So whether you're a music teacher or not, these will work with all of them, but I am talking mostly to music teachers. So let's get started. Number one is relationships. I know that does not shock you because this is the most important thing ever. Kids don't learn from people they don't like. Okay. It is so true. Especially by the end of the year, you can really see which teachers have like formed a relationship with those students and which ones haven't, and how that affects things. I'm thinking specifically about one class that I have that is completely fine in my classroom. They're good. We're good. Everything's fine. They do all their work. They do what they're supposed to. I rarely have to get on to anybody. They're rocking and rolling and fine. But with their teacher, they act like hooligans, okay? And one of the main reasons is because they don't like her, and even more importantly than that, they don't think she likes them. When you're a kid, you're looking at the adults to be the example, and if you think the adult doesn't like you, you are not gonna do anything for them, okay? Now, if you teach elementary music, you're like, oh my gosh, Becca, but I have 700 students at this new school that I've never been to. Like, what am I going to do? So here's a couple quick tips to help you with building relationships with your students when you have a bajillion of them. Number one, make sure that you are consistent in your demeanor. If the kids come and one day you are like wild and crazy, and the next day you're like super chill, and the next day you're like super mean, they are not going to know what to expect. So my students know what to expect from me because I act the same every week. Okay. I have a consistent demeanor where I am strict. Yes, I'm very strict, but I'm also pretty nice. I smile at the kids. I will talk to them. I'm not going to be rude to them. I'm not going to yell at them, like that kind of stuff. I am consistent in my demeanor, which means that they know what to expect from me. Number two is that you should use their names. Using their names is the most important thing. If you don't believe me, try it. Try like one class, use their name a lot, and in the next class, don't use their names. It is mind-blowing how much of a difference it makes. When people hear their name, they know that you know who they are, even if you don't. So if you teach elementary music, I would suggest some name games. I will link a video with some of my favorite name games down below. The other thing I would suggest is to have a seating chart so you can cheat. So when I'm calling on someone, I can be like, Johnny, what do you think? And I can look, but I'm still using their names. And so that way they know I know who they are. And that is massive. You will learn as time goes on, but listen, use your seating chart, okay? And talk to the kids. The third thing that will help you, this is not everything for building relationships, but third thing for when you got lots and lots of kids, look them in their eyes. I don't know why this is something I have to tell you, but this is something I have observed and also noticed. When I'm teaching, I'm looking at the kids in their eyes, and I make a point to try to look at everybody in the eyes while we're singing songs, while we're playing games, because it gives us that connection. If you don't look at the kids in the eyes, you're losing out on the connection. And it's weird. I had a college professor who used to, he would talk and his eyes would go up and over and down, up and over and down. And it was super weird. Okay. I don't know if he was like nervous or what, but it was weird to the point where I ended up dropping the class because I was like, I cannot deal with this. It was very strange. But if you don't do that, like look at the kids in their eyes while you're talking to them, while you're not talking to them, while you're singing, while they're talking. Okay. And number 4, I lied because there's one more thing, is play the games with the kids. Especially if you're new at a school, take time to play games and play them with the children. When kids get together to make friends, they play games. That's how they make friends. So if you are doing, and we do a lot of games and music anyway, so do games and play it with the children. Not just y'all play that game, but let's play it together, and that puts you in it. I don't always play the games with the kids, but I do a lot because of that. And even like at a 5th grader, like last month of school, they're like, are you gonna play with us? I'm like, yeah, I'll play with you, mostly because you asked. But it just like, they love when you play with them. So play with them. It really helps build that connection. So number 1 is relationships. It's the most important. Those are a couple quick tips to help you with relationships. Relationships do take time though. So especially teaching elementary music, we got more things to talk about. And also, if anyone tells you that the only thing that matters is relationships, don't listen to anything they say, because it is not the only thing that matters. Okay. I know students who have great relationships with their teachers and also run amok. I know kids who have great relationships with their parents and also act like they have no sense. Like that is not the end all be all, but it is the most important. So let's get on to the other things that you are going to need in your classroom. All right, number 2 is rules. I feel like people don't want to talk about rules anymore. They're like, oh, they're expectations. Oh, they're this, or they're that. No, they're rules. Okay. So you need to have clear rules in your classroom. And I don't mean just like posted on the wall that we never talk about. I mean, they need to be part of your classroom. So in my room, we have 4 classroom rules and we clap them pretty much every single day. They are: follow directions, be respectful, be responsible, be a participant. Okay. Those are 4 rules. I say one, they repeat it after me. We do this almost every day. If you ask the kids in my classroom, hey, what are the rules of music? They can tell you because we use them all the time. We also use them specifically when we're about to do something. So if we're going to use the rhythm sticks, because we're going to do instruments, I'm going to say, as we use our instruments, we're going to do the same 4 things as always. Repeat after me. Follow directions, and then I'll tell them, I'm especially looking for friends who are being responsible with their rhythm sticks today. And then we talk about what that means in great detail. So, do responsible friends throw their rhythm sticks? No. Do they bang them super hard? No. Do they hit people with them? No. And when you say it, they're like, oh yeah, obviously not. But if you don't say it, they're going to do it without noticing or without thinking about it. But once you say it, they're like, oh, I shouldn't do that. Okay. Now, does that mean they're not going to do it? No, but it does mean that it will cut down on how many of them are going to do the things they should not be doing. Okay. So we love rules. I also have a rule. This is really specific. I got them from Mrs. King, from Mrs. King's music room, the bulletin board lady. I'll link her down below. But she has a whole blog post about instrument classroom management. Highly recommend you read it. And this is my favorite. This little chant that I say every time we use an instrument from kindergarten to 5th grade. And that is this: if you play before I say, I will take your instrument away. And my kids can also repeat that to you because I say it every time. And I mean it. I don't care if it's an accident. I don't care. I don't care. If there's a sound, it goes away. And yes, especially at the beginning of the year, somebody's going to do it because they're testing the limits and seeing what you're going to allow and if you mean what you say. So somebody is going to make some noise and I'm going to say, go put them up. Now, if they put them up, they have a good attitude, they'll get them back in like 5 minutes. Like, I don't care. But the point is, like, we have the rules. We enforce the rules. The other thing is if someone breaks a rule, I'll refer back to those rules and use the same language. So if someone, you know, is crawling on the ground and someone else trips over them, I'll be like, hey, is that a responsible thing to do with our bodies? And they're like, no. I'm like, great, we're not going to do that again, okay? So like use the language of the rules when you're talking about what you should do. And also when someone breaks a rule, here's what, you know, here's the language of the rules. So they know exactly what's allowed and what's not. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen with my eyeballs students getting in trouble for things they didn't think were going to get them in trouble for, and then they think you're being unreasonable because they didn't know the rules. And now you think, Becca, they're in 5th grade. They should know how to stand in line. They're in 4th grade. They should know how to sit on the dot. No, they don't. They don't. You have to really specifically be clear about your rules. And so my rule of thumb is I don't leave things to chance, because been there, done that. If you haven't guessed by now, I have taught at 2 schools, very different. Neither of them have been like super perfect and magical. My first school, I kid you not, people would be like, oh, where do you work? And I'd be like, oh, I work here. I've literally had people go, oh, I'm so sorry. And I was like, what? So my classroom management skills were earned, okay? So just in case you're like, oh, she's probably up there in her ivory tower telling us this. No, friends. I'm in the trenches. I understand. So if you've seen it, I probably have too. So assume they don't know how to do it right, but also assume that they're intelligent. Don't talk to them like they're dumb, but do assume that they don't know anything. So even if you're in 5th grade and I have taught you since you were in kindergarten, I'm still gonna say, you know, we're walking this way around the room. You know, if you play before I say I will take your instrument away. I'm very clear about what I expect, and that helps cut down so much on problems, because so many times people are like, oh, they're being bad, but they're not being bad. They just don't know what to do. So don't assume they know what to do. Have very clear rules. Talk about your very clear rules. Make sure everybody knows your very clear rules. And when they break a rule, there needs to be a consequence, because as soon as they know, I can break the rules and it doesn't matter, everything is gone. Or, last week I broke the rule and it was fine, and this week I broke the rule and I got yelled at. Trust is gone. Okay? So, clear rules, clear expectations. Everybody knows them. Tell them even if they should already know, because they probably don't. Okay, so we had relationships, rules. Number 3 is routines. If you would like to get to the end of the year and not lose your mind, you need routines in your classroom. You need routines for everything you do, okay? Because what a routine is, or a habit, essentially a routine is a habit, something you do routinely. And what it is it's you doing something the same way each time, which means I don't have, you know, if we're gonna go get rhythm sticks, okay, I don't have to decide how the kids are getting rhythm sticks. And by the end of the year, they know how to get the rhythm sticks. Because here's what we do. I put them in the front. I call a row. They're color coordinated. My rows are like color dots. And so I'll call blue row. Blue row stands up. They walk this way to the front. They get their sticks. They walk this way around in a big huge circle. We don't walk through the dots. They go down. They sit. They put their hands somewhere that is not on their sticks. With the little kids, I make them put their hands on their shoulders. They can go here or here. With the older kids, I just tell them hands all the way off. And we talk about where that might be. Pockets behind you. But we talk about where that might be so they have some options. And I tell them if that's a problem, we'll go back to this. But mostly that's usually fine. Once they get to like 3rd grade, we're good with keep your hands off. And if they're not, then they lose their sticks. So when I have them get their stuff, they already know how to do it. If we're going to use paper, they know, same thing. I call a row, they come up to the front. They get clipboards live here, pencils live here, papers always go here. Usually when they get paperwork, I let them spread out. They know how much space they should have. They know where they can't go. They know all these things because I took the time to teach them. When we line up, we always line up the same way. Having these routines mean that by the end of the year especially, the kids will know what to do. So you need a routine for everything in your classroom. Getting materials, putting up with materials, turning in assignments, lining up, entering the classroom, how to, go to the xylophones, how to ask to go to the restroom. All of these things are routines you need in your classroom. It's exhausting at the beginning of the year, but by the end of the year, they should know how to do all these things, and it makes your life so much better. And if you're at the same school next year, the second year is so much better. And the third year is where you really hit that like good spot where we know what we're doing now. So this is really important. Have a routine for everything. So the first week of school, I'm going to teach whatever routines we need for that first day. I'm not going to teach them like how to go to the xylophones if we're not going to the xylophones today. But when something comes up, I'm going to have a routine and I'm going to teach it explicitly. Okay. So the first day of school, I'm going to teach us how to walk to our dots. I'm also going to teach them how to stand up and sit down. So the first day of school, once we get to our spots, I'll say, great. When I want you to stand up, I'm going to sing, will you please stand up, up, up? And you're going to sing, yes, I will stand up, up, up. And you stand up. Let's try it. And we do it. And we practice when you stand up. You should be still. You should have your eyes on the teacher because I'm going to tell you something important. And when we sit down, I'm going to sing, will you please sit down, down, down? And you're going to sing, yes, I will sit down, down, down. And you're going to sit down. And when we sit down, we sit with our feet to ourselves, our hands to ourselves, and our eyes up front. I explain it explicitly. I teach it explicitly. I even, especially with the kindergartners, I will get on the ground and I will show them acceptable ways to keep their feet. Okay. And then we will practice. So I'll go, will you please stand up, up, up? Will you please sit down, down, down? Will you please stand up, up, up? Will you please sit down, down, down? And we'll do that a couple of times so they get used to it. So they are practicing the routine and they need to do it right. If they don't do it right, then we reteach it. Do that with everything. Okay? When we go to line up, at the end of the day, I will explain, here's how we're lining up. The first row will stand up. They're going to turn this way. They're going to walk this way. They're going to get their stuff and they're going to go line up on the number that matches the number they sat on. Because I have like black dots with numbers and I have like colorful dots with numbers. And then the next group. And when you stand in line, you should have, your hug and bubble or whatever your school does. Like I teach exactly what they need to do because a couple weeks in, all I have to say is green, blue row, purple. I even have cards. I'll just hold up the next card that's like a different color. The better you teach them, the easier your life will get. I promise. Routines are super helpful. So it's kind of like relationships are what makes your classroom work. Rules are what makes things clear and understandable. Routines are what makes things go smoothly. Okay. So those are the first three. Relationships, rules, routines. Now, I'm going to give you a second to guess the fourth one. Did you guess it? Number 4 is fun. Okay. Is that what you thought I was going to say? Probably not. More specifically, not necessarily fun, but like an engaging lesson. If your lessons are boring, it's going to be really hard to keep the kids engaged. It's going to be hard to get them to do what they're supposed to do because even the best kids are going to get bored and they're going to get off task. So we want to keep the kids engaged in the lesson by making it fun, by making it engaging. If you're like, Becca, how do I make my lessons engaging? Number 1, again, add some fun. It doesn't all have to be fun, but add some fun. Number 1. Number 2 is make sure the kids are doing stuff. This is so underrated. People will just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, kind of like I'm doing here. But you know the difference? This is a YouTube video. Okay? Your classroom is not a YouTube video. And even here, I'm changing the scenes. I'm holding the camera closer. I'm moving it away. I'm asking you questions. Okay? Like we're doing things to make it a little more engaging as best I can with the brain power I have left after the school year is over. So with your kiddos, add some fun. Games, instruments, those are fun. I already forgot the next thing I said. Oh, don't talk the whole time. Stop talking. Let the kids do the talking. Ask them questions. Have them keep the beat. Have them read off the screen. Have them, like, there's so many things you can do that are low key. I literally will write a lesson and then I'll look at it and I'll be like, what are things the kids can do that I don't need to do for them? The more they're doing, the more engaged they will be, and the more they will also learn. Okay? So the good teaching is not the lecturing. The good teaching is making the kids do it themselves. Number 3. 0 transitions. Transitions are where everything goes south. So when you have a lesson, you don't want to have like long transitions between different activities. You need it to be as seamless as possible. So if this means we have to get, like, we're spread out around the room and we need to get back to our seats, how are we going to do that? It's not just going to be a free-for-all. We need to, maybe we can keep the beat in our feet as we walk back to our spot, or we can listen to a song, or like, there's lots of different things you can do to just make it better. And then when we're going again from one activity to the next, you don't want long pauses and awkward, like, weird things. One thing that helps me so much is having Google Slides for my lessons. You don't have to use Google Slides. You can use whatever you want. But I have literally a Google Slides presentation labeled 4th grade. And it has every 4th grade lesson for the whole year. Okay, so it'll be like day 1, and there's a slide for each thing we're doing. And what this does is it helps me minimize transitions, because 1, I'm now not forgetting what we're doing, because that's a problem when you're like, what were we gonna do next? That's number 1. Number 2 is it helps give that visual aspect, so your visual learners get like that extra thing in there. Number 3 is it means that everything is ready to go. So I already have the songs in Google Slides. I have the videos. If I need, a video, I'm going to have it embedded in my Google Slides. If we need to figure out the rhythm to something, I have it up there. I have everything I need. And so it's my biggest teaching tool, my best teaching tool, because everything is ready to go. I don't have to be like, oh, wait, let me grab a whiteboard and write out, 16 beats of rhythm to show you this song, because I've already got it on the board. I don't need to, spend 8 years trying to find a video for something, because it's already embedded in the slides and they're in order. So I just, click, 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 and it keeps me on task so well. It's honestly not for the children. It's honestly for me. So I know what we're doing next, so I don't forget. But it helps minimize those transitions and keeps the pace of the class so much faster, which helps minimize kids not doing what they shouldn't be doing. Okay? So if you're like, why are my kids not engaged? Well, is your lesson boring? Or actually, if you're thinking the whole thing, if you're like, why are my kids not acting right? Go through these 4 things and be like, okay, have I built relationships with these students? Do we have clear rules? Do we have a routine for something? Especially if like something in particular just goes completely sideways. Do we have a routine? That's a good way to do that. And then, is my lesson engaging? These are the 4 questions that you can ask yourself if your classroom management feels out of whack. Now, I'm going to tell you something most people don't. And that is that although there's so much you can do to help your classroom management, there's so much you can do. Like I said, I have literally seen children be perfect angels in my class. And one time I walked the kids back to their class because their teacher was so late. And the moment they stepped over the threshold of the door, they lost their minds. And it was the most interesting thing I have ever seen. They walked all the way down the whole school perfectly. Wonderful line, quiet, facing forward. They did great in class. They step into the room and lose their minds, and they're going all over the place because that's what they're used to doing in there. So there's a lot you can do, is my point, because that's the same children. There's a lot you can do, but you are not responsible for every child's choice. Some kids are still going to choose not to do the right thing. Some classes are harder than others. It just is what it is. So don't take any of it personally, because it's not you that they're angry with. It's not because they don't like you. Even if they say they don't like you, it's usually not because they don't like you. It's not you. A lot of it is, a lot of stuff. There's a lot that goes into how kids act. We're not getting into all that. Here's what I'm telling you. They might act crazy. They might. That's not on you. But there is a lot of stuff you can do to get them to act better. There's a lot of stuff you can do to help your classroom management. There's a lot of stuff you can do to save your sanity. I see classroom management as my self-care, because if you're acting a fool, it's going to stress me out. So we're not doing that. Okay? So put in the time, especially at the beginning of the year, to really work on these 4 things, and your life will be smoother. And just a little thing for my new teachers or someone switching schools. It is hard at the beginning because you don't have that relationship. It will come. Do the things we talked about to make it come faster, but it will come. It's going to take time, and it will get better. Second year, it's going to be better. The third year is where things really start to take off and feel good, because they know you, you know them, and they've got some of your routines in place, and they're just getting used to it. So if you're new, it does get better. I promise, even if you're at one of the scary schools. So thanks for watching. If you're an elementary music teacher, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you have classroom management questions, I would love to answer them, because I love talking classroom management. It is one of my favorite topics. So leave them down below in the comments, and we can chat about them later. Thanks for watching. Bye.